Well, hi everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of Lessons in Leadership. And today we're talking about mind power. So, what does that mean? It is the ability to unleash your tremendous potential within you by harnessing the power of your mind. Now, from Napoleon Hill, who wrote Think and Grow Rich, to Joseph Murphy, who wrote The Power of the Subconscious Mind, authors have been telling us that if we can harness the power that is within our minds, we can actually achieve anything. But what does that look like in practical terms? What does that entail, and how can you actually harness the power in your mind on a day-to-day basis to accomplish the things that you want to achieve? Imagine if you could just think a thought and then utilize your mind to achieve that. What does that look like? Well, from my own story, I've got 3 incredible stories to tell, and I just thought I'll share some of those thoughts with you. And hopefully, this will help you to unleash the potential within you by harnessing your mind power as well. So here we go. To make it easier, I've set up a couple of thoughts, and I hope that this will be something that's very practical in terms of getting you to think about that as well. So, to start with, the first thing I want to say is in order to harness your mind power, you need to focus on what you want. So, if you think about that from a very, very simple perspective, if you want to achieve something, there has to be a focus. And here's a simple story that will illustrate this. A few months ago, a friend of mine reminded me about a story that she recalled. She said, I remember back in the day when we were in school. Now, she was 13, I was 14. And she said, I remember this one occasion. It was a school assembly. We had about 2,000 people in the auditorium. The whole school had gathered, and the Minister of Youth Affairs had come in to do a talk. And after the minister finished speaking, he opened up a question to the audience and he said, is there anyone here who is thinking about further education overseas? Now, I was born and raised on a tiny island called Sri Lanka. And so it was a big deal for anybody to want to go overseas to study. And so the minister asked the question, is there anybody that is thinking about going overseas? And my friend said, one hand shot up in the audience. And the minister said, well, stand up, tell us, where do you want to go? And the student said, I'm going to Oxford. And my friend said, Shrimi, I remember that day so clearly. Do you remember it? And I said, yes, I remember it because I was the student who raised my hand. I had a crystal clear focus on what I wanted. Now, it turns out that I actually went to Cambridge rather than Oxford, but I was very, very clear on the path that I wanted to travel. I wanted to go to the UK. My parents didn't have the money to send me. I knew I would have to apply for scholarships. I knew I would have to work very, very hard, but I had a crystal clear focus on what I wanted at a very young age. And at 14 years of age, that's the thing that I focused on. When many of the people around me were possibly saying, no, we're not going to reach for that. We have to settle for something else. I was very clear on what I wanted, and therefore I worked towards it. So, whether you are thinking about starting a business, wanting to have a baby, buy a home, start a new career, join a university course, whatever it is that you want to do, the starting point is that you have to have a crystal clear focus on the thing that you want. It has to be front and center of your mind all the time. The second thing you have to do is remove distractions. So, whatever it is you want to do has to come first, and you have to make the sacrifices. If you're thinking about buying a new home or an investment property or putting your finances into a certain area, you have to remove distractions when people invite you to come out to dinner or come out for drinks or go to the movies or whatever it is. You have to say, no, I'm actually saving funds for this particular thing. And I have to remove those distractions. And once again, it is your mind power that is going to help you to do that. Because once your subconscious mind has locked in with your conscious mind, it is very simple to remove distractions. Everything about your body and your thoughts are going to be, this is the thing I'm focused on. Everything else takes second place. The third thing is to eliminate noise. And once again, I have a great story about this as well. So, for those of you who might know the story of how I came to the UK, I connected with a boyfriend that I had many, many years ago when I was at university in Cambridge. And we were together for about 5 years, and then we broke up and we married other people. We then lost touch for about 23 years. And in 2021, after we had both got divorced, we reconnected. And so in 2021, in the middle of COVID, I decided to come to the UK. However, Australia, which is where I was living at the time, was in complete lockdown. And everyone said to me, you cannot leave the country. There are no visas to get tickets bought. All of these things are not going to happen. And that was true. I went onto the website that had been set up by the government for travel, and there were 5 categories, and you either had to work for the government, work for the World Health Organization, or be part of the COVID team, or be an attaché or a diplomat, or you had to show extraordinary circumstances to apply for an exemption to leave the country. Now, my focus was I want to get on that plane to get to London. That is the only thing I was focused on. And so I went for option number 5, which was creating an exemption to travel. And I had grown a business in Australia in the middle of COVID and doubled that revenue. And so I wrote to a colleague in the UK and said, can you send me a letter, please, to invite me to come and teach people how to do that in the UK? And he said, yes, that would be great. So I got the letter and I applied. And I was granted an exemption to travel, to leave Australia. I was the only person on that plane on Cathay Pacific leaving Sydney to come to London in the middle of COVID because I had a focus and a mind power and I was going to get the job done. But there was a second hurdle and a third hurdle to overcome. I got the exemption to travel, but then I was told you cannot have a COVID vaccination because you're under 50. And we are only offering the COVID vaccine to people over 50 because they're more vulnerable. So I had to contact about 10 different clinics all across Australia and keep asking, can I please have a COVID vaccine? Can I please? And they said, sorry, no. Finally, again, focused, mind power. I kept thinking, I'm going to get this done. I'm going to somehow get on this plane. I called a clinic and I said, I need a COVID vaccine because I'm traveling overseas next week and I need to get this done. And she said, yeah, sure, come in. Didn't ask any questions. I turned up at the clinic and was asked to come to the reception desk. And I said, would you mind? The nurse has just finished. Can I just get the vaccine done and then I'll do the paperwork? She said, yeah, sure, go ahead. So I went, I got the vaccine done. I came back to the reception, started filling in my details. And she said, oh, you're only 49. This vaccine is normally for people over 50. And I said, oh, well, I'm nearly 50. I'm sure it'll be okay. And so once again, overcame the second hurdle. The third hurdle was I arrived at the airport ready to board this plane. I was the only person in this huge airport hall. And they say your COVID vaccine certificate does not match your passport. It's a Saturday morning and I'm just so focused on I'm going to get on that plane. I said, don't worry, let me ring the clinic. They will change the certificate and they will send you a new one. And so I had to ring multiple people. Everyone was, on leave. It's a Saturday. No one was in the clinic. I had to ring someone's home number, get them to make the change on the certificate. They sent it through to the airport. And finally, I got on that plane. And I'm so grateful because today I get to live with the love of my life because I had the ability to focus. So eliminate the noise when people are saying it can't be done, it's not going to work. If you are focused on the thing that you want to get done, those doors will open. There will be a way. And that is the ability to control your thoughts and to eliminate the things that are coming against what you want to achieve. Number 4, remind yourself of who you are. Every single one of us has tremendous skills and talents, and we are very, very good at what we do. You need to harness all of the thoughts about who you are, what you have achieved to date, and that will keep you focused on the thing that you're trying to get done. When I lose track of that, or if I get a little bit down and depressed and I'm not hitting my goals, I take time out, I get a notebook, and I start writing down all the things that I know I'm very, very good at. For some of you, you might start with just one or two. You might struggle to get to five things you're really good at. I've done this exercise on coaching sessions with so many people. People struggle to even write down five. I encourage you to write 10, 15, 20 things. Just keep writing and remind yourself of every single thing you are very, very good at doing, and then focus on the thing you're trying to get to. Because once you have written down that list, you will become aware of how amazing you are and how much you can get done. And then finally, number 5, I believe in this saying more than anything else. What you see is what you get. What you can envision, what you have in front of you, what you see with your eyes is what you are going to get. And so this is where I come to talking about the importance of a vision board. This was the vision board that I set up for myself back in 2020 for the year of 2021. These are the things I wanted to achieve in 2021. And I encourage you, if you've never done a vision board, get a huge piece of cardboard together, or you can do this digitally if you prefer, but keep it simple. And I normally recommend to people to pick 6 areas. So I've picked family, love relationship, business and finance, travel, friendships, and hobbies. So those are the 6 things I normally recommend for people to pick, and make it specific. What is the vision you have for each of those areas? So as an example, for me in the family section, my vision was to send both my children to top universities in Europe. That was a huge vision I had. That was my vision in 2020, and by 2023 that came true. So keep them simple, keep them specific, and make sure it's authentic. Make sure it's what you want and not what you think the world wants you to have. It's got to come from the heart. It's got to come from your mind, because that's when mind power is so powerful. Your mind, your conscious mind, has to connect with your subconscious mind. And if the two are not in alignment, you will never achieve the goal. So it has to be something that you deep down connect with and you want for your life. The second thing is that this vision board needs to be clearly visible. So I had it up on my wall right in front of my desk every single day. I would wake up, get to my desk, and this is what I would see. You need to have things on this vision board that excite you, but they also have to scare you a little bit. And what I mean by that, it has to be slightly out of reach so that you are constantly focused forward in getting to these things. So as an example, in 2020, I put down that I wanted to cycle or to get involved with a big cycle ride. And I can honestly tell you that in 4 weeks' time, I have signed up for the London to Brighton 100-kilometer bike ride. And it is scary because the longest ride I've done so far is 63 kilometers. So I have a long way to go yet, but it is very, very exciting for me to do that. So it's got to be something that excites you, but it's also something you have to stretch towards. The next thing is you need to be accountable. The reason I had this board up for every single person to see, and when they walked in the house, my children saw it, my friends saw it, and I said, these are the things I'm going to achieve. I'm going to use the power of my mind. I'm going to use every ounce of energy in my body to get these things done. Be accountable. It's on a board for people to see, so that then there is a reason for you to reach it. My kids said to me, Mama, you've said we can go to university in Europe. We know you're going to get that done for us. So be accountable. And finally, know that you will achieve it. This is the most powerful part of mind power. Your conscious mind is being told by your subconscious mind what to do and what steps to take. So you have to make sure that the two are in alignment. And therefore, your subconscious mind is the place where all of your deepest thoughts will go. And you have to train your brain that this thing is something I will accomplish. 100 kilometers on a bike I have never done before, but I have told my brain, you will finish the 100 kilometers. You will accomplish that race. So that is something that automatically I just train my brain to do, and I know I will get it done. So I hope those little tips on mind power were useful for you and help you to unleash the unlimited power within. Because honestly, if each and every one of us actually focuses on the power we have within our mind, there is nothing that we cannot do. And it has helped me all through life from a very young age. Even before I was 14, I was brought up in a Christian family. And one of the things I used to love, one of the verses I used to love, was ask and you shall receive. Knock and the door shall be open. Seek and you shall find. And so I just love the fact that we have the ability to use our mind power and put into place the things that we want, and the steps will follow. You just have to get your mind to align with your thoughts so that you can actually get that done. So I hope that was useful, and I will see you on the next episode very, very soon. Have an awesome day.